Well, that happened fast. Hi, and good morning, Instagram. Sheena, your matriarch empowerment doula, here for truth and tea. We missed out on last week. I was busy with some self-care. I went out of town for a solo night, and decided I didn't want to do it last week. There's other things that need to be done. So I'm here this week, though. I am looking forward to delivering, and I actually have a special treat that I'm going to share with you all today. So I'm drinking my orange pico, as I usually am. If you catch the replay, let me know what you're drinking in the comments. I'd love to hear. I love me some tea. I live off tea. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I do. So today I wanted to chat about spiritual hygiene. It is a conversation that's come up a few times in the village, and I'm also dropping spiritual hygiene content in the village this week. So I thought it just made sense to talk about that over truth and tea. What is spiritual hygiene? What we can do to establish, cultivate, nurture those spaces in order for us to feel more connected to source and self, and of course one another, because source is everything. Source is all things, and we are all a part of it. So in creating a deeper connection with that, you are creating a deeper connection with all. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then, depending on whether or not anyone is here to join me, I have pulled out my cards this morning. So I will happily pull some cards for anyone that joins me live that might like one. And if nobody joins me live, then I will just go ahead and pull one card for the collective, share the message that comes through, and log off. So today is May 15th, I think, or 16th. Doesn't matter what the date is, but today Jupiter enters Taurus, and I am not an astrologer. I'm not an expert in this area, but I do subscribe to astrology because I have witnessed the mirror so many times, and it really does fascinate me. So Jupiter moving into Taurus is actually quite a big transit. It's going to bring quite a lot of energy down to earth, into our beings. It's a very abundant energy. But here's the thing, with abundance comes lack, because they're attached. It's polarity. And so if you're not experiencing the abundance, you might be experiencing the lack. So check yourself, see where you're at, and recalibrate and align to your birthright, which is abundance. Know that any lack or scarcity that you might be experiencing is not yours, and that you actually do have the ability to flip that script. Another thing about abundance is overindulgence. And so I wanted to share that with you today too, is just check yourself, see where you're at. Are you overindulging? It's one thing to experience and be grateful for and share our abundance. It's another thing to hoard or overindulge with it. Okay, so I just wanted to share that energy with you so that you could take an opportunity to just check in with yourself over the next few days, see how you're feeling, see if you're living into lack, see if you're aligned with abundance, or if perhaps you are overindulging. When you check in with yourself, you will find a message there. Okay, so have fun with that energy and see what comes up for you. So talking about spiritual hygiene, let me share a little bit about spiritual hygiene with you. So I like to call it meds and magic. Personally, that's what I like to call it. The greater world calls it spiritual hygiene. It's also really, in a lot of ways, just self-care. All right. So in 2017, I launched a program, and it was a high vibe coaching program. And what we did during this program, it lasted for 16 weeks, was we defined what I called our meds and our magic. And I created meds and magic out of a self-care coaching program that I had previously created. So I took this old program, I revamped it, And I presented it as defining our meds and magic, okay? And meds and magic is essentially your spiritual hygiene, which is essentially your self-care. So there are a couple of differences, I guess, because self-care can look different for everyone. All right, let's keep that in mind. Self-care is not the same for everyone. And what may present as self-care to me might present as like a chore to you. And so there are obviously some differences between how we experience self-care, spiritual hygiene, meds and magic, but also how they relate to one another. So I chose the words spiritual hygiene because it's kind of all the rage. Lots of people are talking about it, and I figured it's probably the best term to use if I want to catch your attention. So I went with spiritual hygiene. Nobody knows about meds and magic unless you've worked with me in the past, or you're one of my clients, or you're a sister in the village, and you've heard me talk about it there. You don't know what meds and magic is. Sounds pretty exciting, but you don't know what it means. And self-care is overdone. How sick and tired are you hearing about self-care? About how you got to do more of it. So, spiritual hygiene it is. I decided that I wanted to share 3 practices with you. 3 spiritual hygiene self-care practices with you that have really helped to shape and transform my own connection to source, each other, and self. Because in the end, that's really what the magic is that connection, is that faith that is cultivated as a result of connection, hence spiritual hygiene. So what is faith? Let's start there, and then we can see how spiritual hygiene, self-care, meds, and magic all play a role. Faith is, in the end, your root of motivation, inspiration, empowerment. It's what will feed you what you need to continue to move forward. An undying faith in your soul journey is what self-care, meds, magic, and spiritual hygiene can help you to cultivate. Okay, so in order for us to do anything in life, anything that we desire to do, we need to shift, we need to change, we need to evolve, we need to do things, we need to take action, we need to take inspired action, we need to tune in, we need to reflect, we need to recalibrate, all of these things that need to be done in order for us to shift and change and become the people that we desire to be. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. And so our spiritual hygiene, our self-care, and our meds and magic are the root that grounds us into the exact nourishment that we need to move forward. That root draws in all of the motivation and empowerment you need to take the inspired action, to do the thing. Let's take that a step further, because it's not always inspired action, is it? Sometimes we have to do shit we don't want to do. Sometimes we have to go to places we don't want to go. Although I will always recommend not. Don't do it if you don't want to do it. Don't go there if you don't want to go there. You're still going to. So instead of coming in and saying, because that was one of the things I was going to say, don't do things you don't want to do. Okay, because a coach shared that with me a few years ago, and it's very powerful. But it took me a long time to understand what it meant to truly do that. And to be told, just don't do the things you don't want to do is kind of hard. Like, what do you mean? So instead, let's prepare ourselves to do the things that we don't want to do. Let's ground ourselves into nourishment, into motivation and empowerment in order to get through them. Because sometimes we have to hang out with shitty family members. Sometimes we have to put ourselves in low vibrational situations. Sometimes we actually do want to do the thing, but it's going to take a really long time, or it's going to involve people that make us, uncomfortable or stress us out or whatever. We want to do the thing, but there are contributing factors. And so we lean into our spiritual hygiene, into our self-care, into our meds and magic in order to draw up the nutrients, the nourishment, and the inspiration and empowerment to do the things that we need or want to do. So I said I had 3 practices that I wanted to share with you, and I do. And they're not going to be don't do what you don't want to do, because you know what? You're not ready for that yet. You're not ready for that yet, and that's okay. That's something that I challenge my sisters to do once in a while, but we're doing this work all the time. You're not ready for that. But here are 3 things that you are ready for. Number one is to create an altar. Simple altar. I don't know if you have one of these in your home already, but I highly encourage you to create one. Here's one of my altars. And this is my family altar. And here I have little bits of magic and beauty and energy and art and pictures and coins and salt and cards and stones and bits and bobs. And about once a month, I move through this space. I dust it, I cleanse it, I shift it around, I add bits and pieces for new people I wish to connect with, or I wish to cultivate deeper relationships with. It's kind of like, it's my family altar, it's my like relationships altar. And what's beautiful about having a sacred space is that it's not just a space that's going to collect dust unless you let it. But that's not what the spiritual hygiene, the self-care, the meds and magic is all about. It's not about creating a space and letting it sit there to collect dust. That's not it. It's about returning to that space. It's about bringing yourself back to that space in reverence. And I do that by dusting it and cleansing it and clearing it and adding new bits of magic. I encourage my sisters to create an altar, and I encourage you to do that too, as a piece of your spiritual hygiene, your self-care, and your meds and magic. And like I said, it's not about creating it and leaving it to sit there and get dusty. Sometimes it will. It will. But the real practice, the real hygiene is bringing yourself back to that space. Is bringing yourself back to that space not only just to cleanse, clear, and add new bits to it, but to go there to sit in meditation, to go there to journal, to go there to reflect, to go there to give thanks. Some people don't like the word altar, so call it your special space. Some people don't like the word altar or sacred, and that's fine. I've gotten over all that. There was a time I didn't like it either, but I do now. I love it. I understand that for me, this is my sacred altar. And what that means is that I have a place that I can return to, that I can share my gratitude, my love, and my reverence with, and that I can also display little pictures and little bits of love and devotion. And I visit my altar on a regular basis. And sometimes it does get dusty, sometimes it does get out of hand, but then it's this beautiful cleansing that I get to experience by taking it all apart and dusting every bit and intentionally placing each one back where I like it to be. Now that's my everyday, all the time, always there altar. I also create altars for specific events or situations. And this is an extension of that first task that I wanted to share with you, was to create altars for a specific situation, a specific event, a specific desire, a specific moment of reverence. What is it that you want to encapsulate into a tangible, beautiful, sacred space that you can come to? So I've got a bit of a messy one, but I'm going to show it to you just to give you an example. I hosted an event last week called Rebirth, and I have yet to tidy up the altar that I created. And usually what happens when I'm doing events and I create an altar, it needs to sit out for a bit, and then I receive the message like it's time. It's time to clean that up. It's time to put it away. It's just not quite time yet. Maybe it will be later today, might be tomorrow. But I'm just going to give you just a quick little glance. I've got some feathers, some bits and pieces of nature here, my beautiful mama statue, some cards, a couple of different crystals. We had a candle burning. So it looks a little bit messy right now, not gonna lie, but that's because I was working through it in our event. I just wanted to share with you that you can create an altar for a specific reason that's not there all the time. One of the last things I want to invite you to incorporate into your altar, not just your bits of reverence and gratitude and earth, air, water, fire elements, whatever it is you desire. I have crystals, I want to invite you to place an offering on your altar. I personally like to place my offerings outside, and that's going to shift us into number 2, which is to present an offering. You can put an offering on your altar, and that could be really anything that you desire to place on your altar with intention, that it is an offering for your guides, gods, goddesses, divine white light, collective energy, ancestors, angels, anything you like to connect with, any deities, anybody who's crossed over. You can place an item with intention on your altar as an offering for them. I like to place my offerings outside because I mostly like to give offerings of food. So for the event last week for Rebirth, I encouraged attendees to place an offering outside under a tree, because one of the things we were going to do was be connecting with our guides, our ancestral lineage. And so if you want to do that, if you want to connect with someone, with something, with a deity, with a person, with an energy, place out an offering. And do this with great, great intention and gratitude and reverence, knowing that this is being received on the other end. So for the event, I placed out an offering of chocolate and cardamom. And I'm going to do this more often. I think what I'm actually going to be doing is doing it with more intention, because I place out offerings all the time. But I'm really shifting into doing that with more intention. I was unsure if I wanted to share this practice with you, because it's not one that I've been doing for years, or it's just one that I've recently adopted. It's something I've done all the time, put offerings out, but adding that layer of intention, of that mindful intention, of that reverence, and of that gratitude, it's something that I actually was witness to last summer. And since then, I've really seen the beauty in that exchange, in that energetic exchange with spirit, with source. And I'm doing it more and more. And so I want to invite you to do that as a bit of your spiritual hygiene. And you might be wondering, how can creating a shelf of knickknacks and putting a piece of chocolate under a tree help me in my life, help me to cultivate faith, help me to connect better with source and myself? Remember, I said I had 3 things, and I'm about to tell you the third, and then we'll get to just how all 3 of these things can play a role in your life, and how it can create the exact environment you need for faith, for empowered momentum and inspired action. So the third thing that I highly recommend in terms of spiritual hygiene, self-care, meds and magic, is to find a community of like-minded people. Those who subscribe to the religious ideologies, they would call that church, right? A lot of spiritual people find their community in yoga centers or retreat spaces, lots of online opportunities. But the point here is to find a group of like-minded individuals that are also doing the spiritual hygiene work, that are also cultivating connection, that are also pulling on to that nutrients to create momentum and inspired action in their life. Having a group of other people who are fully dedicated to their ascension, to their spiritual development, to their self-growth is really, really going to impact your practice. So of course I'm going to invite you to join us in the village, because that's what we do in the village. We are always working on our meds and magic. We are always leaning into self-care and cultivating new ways to explore our spiritual hygiene. So I'd love to have you join us. If you don't know yet, it's only $11 a month. And that $11 a month gets you a whole buttload of things. We'll talk about that a little bit later. what I want to do is I want you to just take a moment right now for yourself. And I want you to think about the people in your life, the people that you surround yourself with, the people that you spend time with. Are they filling you up? Are they of a like-minded variety? Are they doing the things that you're doing? Are they diving deeply into themselves in order to rebirth? Or are they dragging you down? Are they causing discomfort, overwhelm? Really take a minute to lean into who it is that you're spending your time with. And if none of these people are like-minded individuals doing the work that you desire to do, then I encourage you to find them. Find them, because you will not be able to continue down this road cultivating the nourishment that you need in order to take those inspired action steps and build momentum to actually rebirth unless you have them. Listen, the work that we do all as individuals to ascend, to cultivate a spiritual connection, to just develop our self, all of the work that we do, we have to do alone. It is work that only we can do. But we can only do it when we have other people in our lives that are encouraging us, that are modeling it for us, and that are witnessing us do it and cheering us on the entire time. No matter what you're doing for your self-care, no matter what you're doing for your spiritual hygiene, no matter what meds and magic you are weaving into your life, you need a group of people to do it with, to share it with, to be witnessed by, to witness. This is what will truly impact your life and your ability to move forward. Listen, I'm going to give you one more little bit that you can do, and you can weave into all of these things. You can weave into your altar. You can weave into your practice that you bring to your altar. You can weave it into your offerings. You can weave it into your connection to community. And that's this. And this might be the most important piece of all. Here it goes, guys. Be fucking honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Be fucking brutally honest with yourself. Okay? Because until you're honest with yourself, all of this, all of the altar, the offering, the crystal grids, all of the massages, all of the meditation, all of the yoga, all of the eating clean, all of the self-care, all of the meds magic, all of the spiritual hygiene that you do, the bubbles you create for safety, the prayers, the gratitude, all of that means nothing if you're not being honest with yourself about where you're at, where you came from, and where you're going. I want you to take those truths and I want you to weave them into everything you do, because unless you do that, everything else that you do is just disconnected. It's just because you're just doing it because I told you to, or because somebody else told you to, or because you think you're supposed to. None of that matters if you're not honest with yourself. Okay, so there you go. There's your 4 bits. Start with being honest with yourself and then go back and do the others. And then join us in the village, because there's literally a buttload of other things that you can do besides create an altar or place out an offering. Join us in the village. Come and check out all of the ways that you can discover your meds and magic, and connect with a group of like-minded individuals, of women who are in the same place that you are, desiring more, wanting to rebirth into the next version and doing the work to do that. Guess what? My sisters are rebirthing. We are evolving. We are up-leveling every single day. And we want you to come with us. We want you to join us. So you can do that by hitting me up in the DMs or checking out the link in my bio. Depending on where you see this video, it is alive on Instagram, but it will eventually end up on the YouTube. So come and find me and get your butt in the village. All right. So I said I would pull a card. Literally nobody joined me this live, and that's okay. I'm going to chalk that up to Jupiter and Taurus, because, you know, like I said, there's like abundance and lack, right? And overindulgence and all of these energies. And you know what, for me right now, like there's always lessons to be learned, and they are all directly tied to astrology. I'm not going to get into that. But What I will say is that there is a lot of transits and placements in Taurus, and it is lighting up poverty consciousness for humanity. And honestly, a couple of months ago, if I had come on and done this live and saw that no one joined me, I would have felt like so lack. I would have felt so icky. I would have been like, nobody wants to hear what I have to say, all that dirty garbage bullshit. Literally, like a few months ago, I would have been like, and I probably would have stopped halfway through. And if I didn't, I would have got to this point and I would have erased it. But I'm not going to, because I do not live in poverty consciousness anymore. And I'm going to trust that I just spent this last 20 minutes sharing because someone out there needs it. Someone needs to hear it, and someone's going to tune in and they are going to hear it. And I'm going to celebrate that. So check yourself, because this is really coming up. Check your mind state. Check where you're at and how you're responding to the things that are taking place in your life. Are you responding from a place of abundance or from a place of lack? I don't respond from lack at all anymore. It's just not in my realm. So, I'm going to pull a card. I'm going to pull a card because I said I would. So, it's going to be a card for everyone. And I'm going to make it an inspired action step. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for an inspired action step for anybody who is looking to shift or cultivate or start a new spiritual hygiene or self-care practice. Anybody who's looking to ritualize their self-care, because really that's what makes it spiritual hygiene, is by ritualizing it. I would like one card for the collective. One card, please. One card for the collective for some inspired action. And one inspired action step here for the collective. One inspired action step here for the collective. That's the one. All right, wonderful. Oh, this is a great card. So this is the transmute card. This is the transmute card. And it says, fear and excitement feel the same. Embody your intentions. Did I not just say that? How do you want to feel? Do you want to be sad because nobody showed up to watch your live? And do you want to feel like shit and all full of lack? Or do you want to be excited and fucking abundant and full and know that you showed up for a reason regardless? Regardless if there's anyone right there right now. There's no lack in this. This is all abundance. So what do you want to feel? And how are you feeling? And how can you shift from feeling the way you are into feeling the way that you desire? Sometimes we need to actually transmute that energy. And after you've done this practice of transmuting and you've ground it into your, hi Nicole, hi girl, you're gonna have to go back and watch from the beginning if you want, but after you ground into your self-care and your spiritual hygiene, and then you start to become fully aware of how you feel and how you want to feel, you can begin to transmute. I teach my sisters how to do this in the village. We do it with artwork. We do it with movement. We do it with artistic expression in other ways. We do it with card work. We do it with journaling. There's a lot of ways to transmute your energy from lack into abundance, from sadness into happiness, from anger into pleasure. There's a lot of ways of doing that. And once you are grounded into your practices and you are very comfortable in your self-care rituals and you've practiced this transmutation, it happens in a snap. You can literally shift without all of the bells and whistles. You can just make the decision and shift. And I know that because that's where I'm at. That's what I do now. I recognize where I'm at, cultivate the awareness, decide where I want to be, and then I take a moment and I'm like, okay, so how long am I going to sit in this shit? How long am I going to sit in this sadness, this anger, this lack? Am I going to sit in it? And sometimes I choose to, sometimes because I am human. But as soon as I decide that I'm done, and I shift and I transmute, because I would much rather be excited than afraid. So this is your inspired action. Check yourself. How are you feeling? Where's your mindset at? Where do you want it to be? Do something to bring them together. Feel how you want to feel. And if you don't, do something to shift it intentionally. Listen, If you find yourself feeling like shit, doing something, still feeling like shit, wanting to be happy, but still feeling like shit, in the end, you're choosing to feel like shit. So do something about it or don't. Either way, I don't care. I'm over here doing all the things about it, living in love, living in excitement, living in abundance, despite all of the low vibe caca that's all around us. Speaking of low vibe caca that's all around us, it is these practices that are going to help you to meet those situations and those people with a deep self-knowing so that they can't rock you. Those situations cannot rock you because you are grounded in your nourishment. You are grounded in your faith. You are grounded in your self-worth. So nothing else can shake you. The outside world, the low vibrations, they do not shake you. It takes practice. It takes intention. It takes time. But eventually you get to decide at the snap of a finger how you desire to feel. And then you get to go there despite what's taking place all around you. So that's Truth and Tea for today. Thank you so much to anyone who makes it this far. If you do catch the replay, say hello. I'd love to hear from you. All right. Take care of yourselves. Much love. Bye.